And welcome to another edition of Two Steps Ahead Podcast. Two Steps Ahead Podcast encouraging you to take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. I'm Son Edom. Coming up on the show a little bit later, we're going to talk about a farmer, a priest, and a prostitute on a bus ride. What could that possibly be about? Well, stay tuned and find out. But first on the docket, I want to talk about something that is appropriate for this time of year as we move into the holiday season. A lot of people are going to be celebrating with family and friends. And obviously, well, depending upon who you are, I guess, you think the holiday season kicks off with Halloween. But traditionally, for the most part, people look at Thanksgiving as the holiday that officially kicks off the holiday season. Go from Thanksgiving into Christmas, into New Year's, and then, of course, depending upon what your celebrations are, it might end there or might continue on into the new year. But it's always good at this time of year to kind of think about gratitude and being thankful and thankfulness. And what's that mean? And do we do it enough? Are we actually thankful for the things that we do have? And one of the things that I find interesting is that when we get to the holiday season, a lot of times we become more introspective. I mean, at one point, I guess the two most attended Sunday services were Christmas and Easter. Now, maybe that has changed due to many circumstances, but that was always the case. You would show up to church on Christmas and it was always packed. And maybe you had a Christmas Eve service, and people that normally would not go to church would attend. And so at Thanksgiving, it's an opportunity for us to think about gratitude and thankfulness and how does it affect us and what do we do about it? Naturally, when we get something from somebody, they help us out. Thank you. Maybe when you're at the store and someone in customer service is talking to you and helping you, you say thank you. But oftentimes, isn't customer service the people that we lash out at and the ones that we kind of attack because typically it's maybe something that's gone wrong and we need to call them up on the phone and sit on the phone for hours and wait for them to respond. And usually we don't get the response that we want if we can even understand them. Or maybe we're having a hard time and we lash out and we take it out on other people. But what if we did a conscious effort, a focus on trying to be thankful, especially this holiday season when everybody's going to be full of tension, stress, because we do it ourselves. The commercialization of it, of the holidays, puts us at added stress, and therefore we tend to take it out on other people instead of being gratitude and being thankful for the things that we have. So let's take a look at what gratitude might be and what thankfulness might be. And I'd like to do it a little bit more specifically to what the Bible has to say about it. Now, some of these things, if you're not a believer, that's fine. I just like to look at it from that perspective. But there's a lot of things in here that you can take the religious spirituality out of it and still learn from it. And so one of the things that I think we do when we have gratitude is that for us, it draws us closer to God. You know, in Psalms 100, verse 4, it says, enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. And I think that's done purposeful because a thankful heart turns our attention away from our problems. And isn't that something that we focus on, our problems? But what if we took away our problems or the focus of it and we started to look at something different? Maybe if you're a believer, you look at God's character and creating a closeness with him. If you're not a believer, that's fine, but maybe we take our focus off of our problems and we put it on something else, maybe creating peace, maybe that Christmas cheer, maybe helping someone else have a better day. But when we enter the day and we're gratitude and our gratitude shows and we have thanksgiving about the day, and we're praising the day, our mindset changes. It shifts. And our focus, again, is taken off of our problems. And that's the thing that we do. Whenever there's a problem, what happens? People run to social media, especially TikTok, and they vent. And they want all the people to kind of lift them up in their venting. Maybe have pity, sympathy, empathy. Okay, that's fine. But what happens? It becomes a drain on everybody else. So what if we switch that around, and instead of having a focus on our problems, we're just grateful for the things that we have? So one thing is gratitude can draw us closer to God. Another thing is that thankfulness can strengthen our faith. It can make us stronger in what we believe. Practicing gratitude can train the heart to believe that God is working even when circumstances are uncertain. Practicing gratitude can train our heart to put other people first. Practicing gratitude can train our heart to focus on the positive and not the negative. It's that dreaded Monday morning. I got to get up and I got to go to work. And we dread it. But what about switching it up and being thankful that we have a job to go to? Thankful that we have a nice car or a car to get to work in. Thankful that we are not homeless. Thankful that we have breakfast that we can eat. I mean, if you teach and you teach in a public school, there's a chance that you might teach at a school where a bunch of kids will come to school without having had breakfast. And sure, maybe your school gives them breakfast. But if you don't, if your school doesn't, you have hungry kids. You have kids that are cold. It's wintertime approaching. How many of them are going to be properly dressed? How many of them, or their parents, I should say, have the means to dress them properly in winter, get a winter coat? So we can be thankful for the things that we have, and it changes our heart. It trains our heart to focus again on something else. And as a believer, that could be believing that God is working even when circumstances are uncertain. A grateful heart can bring us peace. Have you ever been off social media? I mean, like for an extended time, not even looked at it? You probably have more peace in your life than you would if you scrolled nightly for hours on end. That's because people usually don't have peace in their lives. And it stems from not being grateful. How many people complain about the current administration? How many people complain about this, complain about that? They're looking for something to complain about. If something bad happens to them, what do? They run to social media and tell the world what happened to them. The bad 17-year-old behind the counter did not give you the right order. And so you have to berate them and then tell everybody about it. Or something similar, instead of being grateful for the food that we did get. But having gratitude and a thankful heart can definitely bring us peace. And in fact, it can bring us peace in many different situations because we're just thankful for the situation that we're in. I know that's hard to understand and hard to put your mind around it, but Bernie Kosar, he just recently was a football player, and I happened to jump on his, I guess, page for some reason, and he was going through a liver transplant and explaining everything that was going through. And at first, his journey was there was nothing available. And then, obviously, tragedy happened to somebody else's family that then provided him with the transplant that he needed. We're healthy. We're not in the hospital. We've had nothing bad happen to us. Or maybe if we are going through something, because a lot of people are struggling and the holidays bring that struggle out, and it's an opportunity for us to focus on that. And those are real problems. I'm not dismissing that at all. But maybe we can have a little bit more peace if we're just thankful for something. Thankful for the person and for the years we had with them. Thankful for the memories that we're able to share with them. Pick something positive out of it. And sure, we might still have that kind of negative side of it, the loss, the grief, the sadness, whatever it might be. And those are fine, true emotions. But instead of wallowing in that, maybe we can kind of twist it this time around and be gratitude and have gratitude and be thankful for some of these things. So if we're being thankful and we're having gratitude, It can bring us peace, but it can also protect us from bitterness and maybe even pride. You know, sometimes we like to go through life grumbling. I mentioned negativity, entitlement. How many people feel entitled? That can definitely lead our heart astray. And again, it goes back to the heart, because what's on the heart then becomes what the mind focuses on. What the mind focuses on then turns into our actions. So actions are a result of what our thoughts are a result of our heart. So if we're guarding our heart, then that's the thing that we need to protect the most, or try to condition to get out of the negative and more into the positive. And it's amazing what gratitude can do. Because again, it puts the onus on something other than our own problems. It puts something other, or the onus on something other than our anxiety, our grumbling, our negativity. Because thankfulness can keep the heart humble. It prevents bitterness by focusing on, in my case, what God has done for me, what I'm not lacking, what he has provided. It can also prevent us from being prideful. It prevents pride from seeping in. I'm all this in a bag of chips, or whatever it is. But it's amazing just how much this, like, bitterness can be about us, right? Pride, it's about us. Negativity, grumbling, it's all about us. Entitlement. These are all things that focus back on us. How can we change that? How can we change that for the better? You know, thankfulness can also open the door for joy. In everything, give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you, in 1 Thessalonians. Thankfulness is not just obedience. It's a spiritual habit that produces joy. You might not think that, but try it. Try it and see just how more joyful your life is if you're practicing thankfulness. One other aspect of it is that gratitude can strengthen relationships. Expressing appreciation can build love, can build unity. It can also build encouragement. Thankfulness invites connection. It can wipe away resentment. It can foster community. I mean, there's a lot of positive things coming out of this. If you want to take a look at it from more of a broader view, I guess you can look at it beyond the feelings, and you can make it, because that's what we do. We oftentimes, there's that thing, I guess that saying, facts over feelings. But we like to live our lives based off of our feelings. But what if we made this a discipline? Could be a spiritual discipline, or just a life practice discipline, where we discipline ourselves to be grateful. We discipline ourselves to be thankful, and to find those areas where we can express and demonstrate that. We can express and demonstrate that to the people around us, whether it's the person at the mini mart, the person on the other end of the phone as we're trying to figure out our credit card bill, whoever it might be. Because in the end, what happens is that when we are practicing gratitude and thankfulness, we're going to have more peace. We're going to protect our heart, because again, what's on the heart is on the mind, and the mind then produces actions. We're going to increase our joy. We're going to have better relationships. And then for those that believe, it reminds us of God's goodness. You know, it's a powerful way to live our lives, especially if you want to live it in God's presence and experience peace every day. But again, thankfulness and gratitude is a powerful way to live that gives us peace, joy, better relationships. It protects our heart, and it happens every day. So how can we do this? Here's a couple quick things that you can do to express gratitude that is really nothing more than you just doing it yourself. How about starting each morning with a thank you? What are 1, 2, 3 things that you're thankful for? What's 1, 2, 3 or 3 things that you're thankful for that God has done for you? Or maybe just that you're thankful for in general. Even the smallest things like waking up in the morning, like a nice day outside, whatever, a nice bed to sleep in. Just be thankful for 3 things, because now we're starting off in the right direction. Maybe some people like to keep journals and journaling. So maybe you journal gratitude. Write down some things. Maybe you kind of, people like to say, I want to manifest something, or if I speak it out loud, it will come true. I'm not necessarily a believer of that, because again, I believe that God is good and gives us everything that we need. But maybe you're one that likes to declare it. Verbally say it out loud. For those of you that like to throw things to the universe so that the universe gives it back to you. Because spoken gratitude can strengthen your faith, your belief, strengthen changes in the atmosphere. And I'm not talking about the atmosphere up there. I'm talking about the atmosphere that you're in, the environment that you're in. It can change it. What about taking short pauses during the day? Maybe at lunch, maybe in the afternoon, maybe during a stressful moment and you just pause. Maybe you step away from that environment for a moment and identify one blessing. Maybe you focus on something other than that immediate problem that's happening, and then maybe that gives you clarity of mind. That's something to think about. What about create a blessings jar? You write down your blessings and you drop it in a jar, and then maybe at the end of the week you pull them out and you read them. Or at the end of the month, whatever. You revisit them to see what you were thankful for. Maybe how God blessed you. Maybe the good things that happened. And then maybe those blessing jars grow and grow and grow because you're now thinking of more and more things that you are thankful for. And then one final thing I could recommend is that you want to replace complaints with praises. You might be like, well, what does that mean? Well, whenever you catch yourself grumbling or complaining, intentionally replace it with a thank you. And then maybe you just follow it up with something. But maybe just a thank you. A verbal thank you out loud. And you're just changing your mindset. That's all it is. You're just refocusing. What are you thankful for? Well, maybe there's nothing specific, but just the act of throwing out a thank you changes your mindset from grumbling. Like I said earlier, instead of I'm tired of this job, you can say thank you that I have work. I have income. Thank you, I have a car to drive to work in. Thank you, I have food to eat for breakfast. Thank you that I have whatever it is that you are in. And again, if you're a believer, thanking God for the things that he has given us. So those are just some things to focus on at this time of year when it's time to focus on it. Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving gives us a yearly check to see how our gratitude is, how our thankfulness is, and do we do it to others in our day-to-day things. But more importantly, remember the benefits that it provides for us. I mean, there's a lot of healthy benefits that it can give us to make our lives better. It takes our focus off of the negative. It provides peace. It provides joy. It protects our heart because, once again, what's on the heart is going to be on the mind. The mind thinks about it. And then your actions. And the best way to, I guess, put it into perspective is if you ever have that love feeling towards somebody, it's in your heart, right? So then what do? You think about that person. And then when you think about that person, you want to act, right? Maybe if it's initially you're first starting out, ask them out on a date, giving them flowers, whatever you do. If you're in a long-term relationship, you're still thinking about them. You're still planning things to be with them. Maybe going on a trip, vacation, whatever. So there's always something that is on your heart because you're in love with this person, so you're always thinking about them. And then your actions are going to be a certain way, especially if it is true love. You're going to treat them the right way. You're going to show them respect. That's the same thing with gratitude. It's on your heart, so you're thinking about being thankful. You're thinking about the gratitude that you have towards the things that are in your life. And now you're in a positive mindset, a positive atmosphere around you, and things are going good. Peace, joy, protecting the heart. Sounds like a lot of good things to me. Now, if you haven't heard, a study came out. It was in the Journal of Psychiatric Research. Came out in July 2025. Now, as we jump into this segment, don't just have your closed-mindedness. You hear the topic, and then you're just going to close up or turn off. Because this is something that affects everybody involved, okay? The journal came out, or there's research that came out of Canada, okay? And it compared induced abortions and the implications for long-term mental health. And it was a study of 1.2 million pregnancies. I believe it went over the course of 20 years. So again, don't tune out because it doesn't matter. This is after the fact. And after the fact, you still have people, women, that are struggling with perhaps some long-term mental health issues. And again, this was a long-term study with a lot of people involved, 1.2 million pregnancies. So let's take a look at it. So the highlights that came out of it was that mental health hospitalization rates are higher after an abortion than after deliveries, someone giving birth. The risk is elevated if you already have psychiatric disorders or if you're a substance abuse person or if you've had suicide attempts in your past. Patients with pre-existing mental illness, or maybe if you're under the age of 25, are most at risk. The risk of mental disorder is greater within 5 years. So it could take up to 5 years for this mental health issue to manifest. And then the risk of most mental disorders disappear 17 years after an abortion. So no matter what side of the fence you're on, we're not arguing it. If there is somebody that you know that has gone through this, you need to keep an eye out on them because there is a real chance that there could be something that happens to them. Maybe it's not as severe because you think about postpartum depression, right? People have a baby and they struggle. So that's a real thing. Now imagine if you go through the termination, what type of mental effects that might have on you. And again, this is a study out of Canada. I believe it was like 20 years because it talked about 17 years after the abortion. So I think this covers 20 years and 1.2 million pregnancies. So this isn't just some political agenda that somebody put together. This is medicine. Again, it's in the Psychiatric Journal. So the relationship between induced abortions and long-term mental health is not really clear as to who it affects and who it doesn't. There's really no correlation or connection. There are some stipulations that might make you more prone to it, just like in real life. You know, you might be predisposed to diabetes or predisposed to certain health conditions, but we really don't know why. Maybe it's hereditary. Maybe it's just our DNA. But they assessed in their study whether having an induced abortion was associated with an increased risk in long-term mental health hospitalization. And so what they did was they carried out a retrospective study of 28,721 induced abortions and 1.2 million births in the hospital up in Quebec, Canada, between 2006 and 2022. So not quite 20 years, but was that 16, 17 years? The exposure was that induced abortions compared with other pregnancies, and the outcome was hospitalizations for psychiatric disorders, substance use disorder, or suicide attempt over time. They followed patients for up to 17 years at the end of the pregnancy to identify mental health-related hospitalizations. They included hazard ratios and some other scientific things in here that really don't make sense to anybody unless you're probably a part of it. But it has to do with the association between induced abortion, mental health hospitalization, and pregnancy characteristics. So again, it's a scientific thing, but this was the result. Rates of mental health-related hospitalizations were higher following induced abortions than other pregnancies. Abortion was associated with hospitalizations for psychiatric disorders, substance use disorders, and suicide attempts, and those rates were higher compared to other pregnancies. The associations were greater for patients who were having a pre-existing mental illness, or were aged less than 25 years at the time. Abortion was strongly associated with mental health hospitalization within 5 years, but risks waned over time. And the conclusion was, induced abortions is associated with an increased risk of mental health-related hospitalizations in the long term, but associations weakened with time. So again, if you are somebody that is for it, then that's fine. But are you really following up on those friends and people that you know? Are you following up on how their mental health is? Are they doing okay? It's easy if you have a pregnancy to have follow-up because obviously you're going to the doctor and things like that. But people want to come over and see the kid, see the baby, the newborn, right? So you're constantly having people over or you're taking them to see people. And so there is just a natural way for people to be around you. And being around people, since we're social creatures, that helps us. But since there is a stigma to an abortion, sometimes people can retreat into their own world. And then whatever's going on in their mind starts to fester a little bit more. And maybe that's why people go into maybe some mental illness. But isn't that something that we should be following up on? Even in the medical field? If you have follow-ups after a birth, should we not have follow-ups after an abortion? Should we not take care of the whole patient before and after? Makes sense to me. And this report out of Canada kind of reemphasizes that. Again, nothing political about this at all. You can go look it up. The Journal of Psychiatric Research, volume 187, July 2025, pages 304 to 310. Or just do an internet search of the Canadian Abortion Pregnancy Study 2025, and it'll pop up, and do your own research. Don't take my word for it. You look it up. But they asked people on the street, women on the street, one word, and they wanted to get a response. And then they gave them that one word, and that one word was abortion.
Abortion.
Killing. Because they're basically killing the baby, even though it's still in the mom.
Horrible. If you're given the gift of a baby, then you should treasure that gift.
A choice.
Necessary.
Wrong. I guess I've always just been pro-life. I feel like when people think of pro-choice, they just think of the mom and the person. People just don't think about the life that's inside of you or the person that doesn't have a voice.
Choice. And it's a controversial choice, but ultimately everybody has their own reasons.
A right.
Choice.
Oh, scary.
Choice.
It's a choice, but that needs to be handled very carefully and not lightly.
So there you have different people, women, expressing their views, and choice obviously is one. Now, when you ask people, which I'd be curious as to where did choice come from? People really don't really know where that came from. Well, it came out of the 1960s. That was the thing that they put their focus on to make it acceptable, because you can't make it acceptable that you're terminating a life. So that's a negative. So what do? We make it something positive, empowering to women. And in the 60s, women empowerment was what it was all about. But what are some of the primary reasons why people get them? Because I know they throw out different types of statistics, but go do your own research, look it up. But these are the primary reasons from multiple sources. Financial preparedness. Many women report not being financially ready for a child, citing general financial issues or maybe even unemployment. Or timing. Having a baby is often described as being the wrong time due to factors like being too busy, not being ready for the transition to motherhood, or having other responsibilities. Or what about partner-related issues? Concerns about the partner, such as lack of support, not wanting the baby, poor relationship status, partner abuse. Common reasons. Other significant reasons can be the focus on other children. Women decide that an abortion is okay because they have enough children. It's too soon after a previous birth, or they're concerned for the well-being of their other children. Interference with future opportunities. Having a baby can interfere with educational plans, career goals, or the ability to work. Mental and emotional preparedness. Not feeling emotionally or mentally prepared to raise a child is a frequently cited reason, but I guess you were emotionally, mentally, and physically prepared to engage in sexual activity. Health-related issues, which is something that people throw out there. Oh, what about rape and incest in the life of the child? Well, rape and incest, especially incest, is really, really low. Again, do your own research. But nobody thinks that the health of the child, the health of the mother, is even questionable. A lot of pro-life people would say that if you had to have concerns over a woman's own health or the health of the fetus, there could be something there to obviously check out and to obviously investigate. Now, they still might want to go through with it, but then that would be their choice. And then one of the final other significant reasons that was given is the inability to provide a good life. Women feel they cannot provide a better life for a child than they could if they raised the child due to factors like unsuitable living conditions or lack of support. 1 in 4 women have had an abortion in their lifetime. And 95% of them are a result of unintended pregnancies. So 5% or less, medical, life of the mom, rape, incest, all that stuff, less than 5%. 95% are just unintended pregnancies. So if there were fewer unintended pregnancies, there would be fewer abortions. Now, again, you can have your right, your say, but is that where it stops? Because we just went over a 17-year study that said there's an increase in mental health issues from women that have an abortion. That could take up to 5 years to, we'll go with manifest since that seems to be the word of the day, but for them to develop up to 5 years. Are you just celebrating and marching and making it a political thing? Or are you really there for somebody if they have one? Are you there for the aftermath of it? Or do you just give them a high five and pat them on the backside and send them on their way? I know they have this saying, my body, my choice, and men don't really have a say in it, stuff like that. But Here's maybe some surprising information. A study revealed, and I think there's been more than one, but I just picked one that was a little bit more comprehensive and understandable. A study revealed that men with pregnant partners play a significant role in the decision to have an abortion, but may not be aware of how much influence they have. So if you were pregnant at one time or knew somebody that was pregnant at one time and they decided to terminate it, and did you ask them the reason why? And if you did they say the father pushed you into it? In 2015, they surveyed women who had an abortion and indicated that men were the most influential factor in their decision. A group called CareNet recognized that despite this influence, the role of men seems to be dismissed. Nobody really explores it. Nobody really goes down that avenue because men don't have a say in it. This new study directly examines the feelings and experiences when the decision to have an abortion was made. Initially, the men were conflicted about the pregnancy when asked about their emotions when they found out their partner was pregnant. Around half say they were nervous. 42% were scared. Still 30% were happy. 28% excited. Far fewer say they were indifferent, embarrassed, or angry. In making their decision, 42% of men whose partners had an abortion say they encouraged the woman to do so. 42% of men encouraged the woman to do so, with 12% saying they strongly urged her to do so. Around 3 in 10 say they didn't give any advice, and 1 in 4 say they advised their partner not to have one, including 8% who strongly urged her not to go through with it. So only 8% of dads out there strongly urge the mom not to go through with it. And yet we still want to believe that men do not have influence over it. And again, some men responded, why do men suggest their partners have an abortion? We couldn't afford a child at the time, 46%. I wasn't ready to be a father, 39%. Well, maybe you shouldn't be ready to have sex. There were already enough kids in the picture, 29%. I didn't expect the relationship with her to be long-term, 24%. There was conflicts in our relationship, 23%. I had not completed my education, 17%. I didn't want to pay child support, 14%. And then the child had medical problems, 3%. I had concern for my partner's health, 2%. I didn't want the child, 1%. Other unspecified, 2%. And that's from Lifeway Research. So one thing to keep in mind, okay? If you are not wanting a kid, then you probably should not engage in sexual activity. Because after all, that is the reason that people do have sexual activity. Or the reason for it is reproduction. People have many reasons for sexual activity. We won't go down that rabbit hole. But here's something that you can think about, okay? It says here in this particular study, 50% of pregnancies were unplanned. In the other one, it was 95%. So again, you've got a variety of numbers that can be thrown around. But this one is at least half. Okay. But think about this. If you are on the pill, 9 out of 100 people will get pregnant. 9 out of 100. If you just rely on condoms only, 20 out of 100 will get pregnant. So either way, there is a chance that you're still going to get pregnant. So maybe you should think about that when you start to engage in sexual activity. Realizing that there's still a 10%, 20% chance that an unwanted pregnancy is going to happen. And I know that's not what you're thinking when you start to go down that path. That's probably the last thing you're thinking. But maybe it's something that we should think about some more. If you think about it ahead of time, then when you go into that situation, you're not just always thinking from the emotional side. We mentioned it about gratitude and thankfulness. Facts over feelings, right? If we have a discipline, a life discipline to be thankful and to have gratitude, our life will be better. If we have a life discipline to be sexually responsible, then maybe we would have less unwanted pregnancies. But if you take anything away from it, the one thing you should take away from it is that regardless of the side of the aisle you sit on, if there is somebody that has gone through it, whether you're pro-life, pro-choice, you should make sure that that person is okay, not only immediately after, but maybe in the months and years to come. Because if that's true for Canada, maybe that's true for all other places around the world. And maybe the mental health isn't complete hospitalization because of, things like schizophrenia or other really, really advanced mental illness diseases, but you have depression, anxiety, things like that we can mistaken for just day-to-day things. Oh, we had a bad day. It's Murphy's Law. What can go bad did go bad. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's a result of something that happened. Something to think about. So if I was to ask you, and it's not the start of a joke, by the way, a farmer, a teacher, I guess I forgot about the teacher, but a farmer, a teacher, a prostitute, and a preacher, they were riding on a midnight bus bound for Mexico. What could they be doing? Well, one was headed for a vacation. One was headed for higher education. And two of them were searching for lost souls. So what happened? Well, the driver never saw the stop sign, and an 18-wheeler can't stop on a dime. And the end result was 3 wooden crosses on the right side of the highway. Why there's not 4 of them, heaven only knows. I guess it's not what you take when you leave this world behind you. It's what you leave behind you when you go. The farmer left a harvest, a home and 80 acres. The faith and love for growing things in his son's heart. The teacher left her wisdom in the minds of lots of children, did her best to give them all a better start. And the preacher whispered, "Can't you see the promised land?" as he laid his bloodstained Bible in the prostitute's hand. There are 3 wooden crosses on the right side of the highway. Why there's not 4 of them, heaven only knows. I guess it's not what you take when you leave this world behind you. It's what you leave behind you when you go. That's the story that our preacher told us last Sunday as he held that bloodstained Bible up for all of us to see. He said, "Bless the farmer and the teacher and the preacher who gave the Bible to my mama, who read it to me." So the preacher was the son, the preacher telling this story, who had the bloodstained Bible, was the son of the prostitute that the preacher on the bus gave his Bible to when he said, "Can't you see the promised land?" as he laid his bloodstained Bible in the prostitute's hand. So the preacher was dying and gave his Bible to the prostitute who read it, gave her life to Christ, had a son who went on to be a preacher. Now, this is a song called 3 Wooden Crosses by Randy Travis. And it makes you think about life and what we go through, the things that we deal with. The story recounts the song, the story that is recounted in the song is symbolic of Randy Travis's own conversion. He quotes, "I came from a background that was heavy with drugs, alcohol, and arrests. I heard people speak about how a vision or something hit them, like a light turned on, right then and there. For me, I was into my early 20s when I went to bed one night and just started reading the Bible. And that's how the slow process of coming to understand that I needed to know more about the Word of God began. And then coming to the point of accepting Christ and then water baptism. So again, it's not maybe what we take with us, because we can't take anything with us. But maybe it's what we leave behind. Now, are we going to leave behind riches and wealth? Well, in the case of the farmer, he left something for his son, a farm, and a love for growing things. We can assume he took over the farm and became a farmer himself. For the preacher, or maybe the teacher, I guess, go there, left knowledge behind. It's important. But the preacher gave not only the woman, but her son, and who knows how many generations to come, and the people that they all impacted, something bigger. Not only did they give them a way to see heaven, spend eternity with Christ, but also gave them a way out of their old self, their old way. Now, I know this is just a song, but you could take it any way you like it. Put yourself in there. Are you on a bus, car ride? Are you on a journey? It's going someplace. Are you a lost soul in search of something? Because we never know when we're going to be taken from this life. Are we going to be ready when we do get to the other side? But what are we doing here on earth? Are we practicing gratitude and being thankful? Are we following up on others when they're struggling with something? It doesn't have to just be about abortion, but are they going through tough things, tough times? Are they struggling in life? I don't want to get involved. That's on them. Or are we there walking the journey with them? Are we right beside them? Are we available when they call? Are we going to be able to help them? That's a question we each have to ask ourselves. But what do we leave behind when our time here on earth is done? What kind of impact are we going to have? People like to mention legacy. What type of legacy are we going to have? Is it one that is just full of social media stuff? Oh, I had 2 million people on social media. Woohoo. Well, you know what? Those 2 million people, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, those people ain't following you anymore because there's new content and there's somebody else that just replaced you. What is it that we are doing to help other people? And we can start right now. And now is a good time. I mean, any time's a good time, but now is a good time because we're going into the holidays. And people at the holidays are always out wanting to help. That's the time of year. Thanksgiving, we're going to go feed the homeless. We're going to go for Christmas, give gifts to people that are less fortunate, right? It's on our mind. But if we make it a discipline to do it every single day, regardless of the holidays, regardless of the time of year, we make it a practice, maybe a spiritual practice, and we start to have these intentional things, maybe we can make life a little better for the people around us. It begs the question, you see someone homeless begging for money. People are like, I don't want to give them money. They're going to go and drink beer, or they're going to go get high and get drugs. Well, maybe. We don't know. We can't say that for certain. But maybe you could go into that mini mart and buy them some water, a sandwich. Give them something even if they're not asking for it. Maybe we can just give them a, hey, how's it going? I'm sorry, I don't have anything right now. But you know what? I appreciate that you asked. Thank you for asking. And maybe next time around, if I see you, I have something. But just acknowledging them as a person. The Bible talks about doing unto the least of these, you do unto me, unto Jesus. They're people. Can't you say hi, smile? No, don't look at me. Can we say hi and smile? make them maybe feel better just for a minute, make them feel human again. And that's with anybody. Can't we treat people in a manner in which they're human? And I get that we don't like people at times. There's people that we're at odds with. That's human nature. But do we have to be mean? I mean, I hate to bring it up, but the amount of vitriol that is spewed at the president, really? Why? Just because you don't like his politics? Really? Why don't you like somebody? And you don't even know them. You've never met them. You don't know what goes on in that person's life, but you're going to cast judgment on them just because other people told you to. We should be better as humans. The hypocrisy that we have as humans, as people, really stands out when we start treating people differently based on things they can't control. It started with, racism. People were different skin color, so therefore we got to treat them differently. We still haven't gotten over that mentality. We're going to judge people and treat them accordingly. Well, what if we embrace them? And again, the church is to me, the church in general, not specific churches, but the church in general is a big offender of this because everybody has this kind of snooty-falooty country club mentality a lot of the times. Again, not everybody, not one size fits all, but I see it more often than not. And it's like, we're going to be a court, we're going to be judge, jury, and executioner of you, the sinner. When what we really ought to be is the hospital, the emergency room, ushering people in and being like, it's okay, no matter how you come here. We're just glad you're here. Here's something that I want to play that is from Billy Graham that might sum up more eloquently what I want to share with you.
We're in a world of change. Millions of dollars are being spent every day on psychologists and psychiatrists by people who want to change their behavior, or on cosmetic surgery by people who want to change their looks. They want to think differently, look differently, act differently, and be different. They want to change. God says there's going to come a time when I'll overturn it. God can overturn your life also, right now, if you would let him. He can change your life. He can make you different. Jesus said our problems come from within. Your problems are not without. It's not the environment of your home or the neighborhood you live in or any of those other things. The basic problem is in your heart. And it cannot be solved by these superficial remedies that we bring, like alcohol or drugs or something else. It's solved by a revolution that God brings. I will overturn it, he says. I will change you if you will let me. God said, for whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. If you today call upon the name of the Lord, you can be saved. You can be made over. God will overturn your life and change the direction in which you're going right now. God will cause a revolution. You pass from death to life, from destruction to eternal life. A fantastic change. The greatest change in your whole life is not when you get married, as great as that may be. It's when you give your life to Christ and let Christ change you. From that moment on, everything else becomes different. But there are two destinations, one toward heaven and one toward judgment and hell. And you're on one road or the other. If you're on the broad road that leads to destruction and judgment, I'm asking you to change roads and go the narrow road that leads to eternal life. And that means you must come by way of the cross. It means that you must repent of your sins. And you ask, well, what do you mean by repentance? I mean that you're willing to change. Change your style of living. change your habits, change from the sins, the things that are wrong in your life, to doing the will of God. You must be willing to do that. You may not have the ability to do it, but when you come to Christ, he'll give you the power to do it. He helps you to make the change. He helps you in the repenting. Which road are you on? When Christ returns, will he find that you have been transformed by his power? I will overturn it. I will overturn it. He will overturn your life right now. This minute, he can change you and make you a new person.
See, problems come from within. It's on the heart. We need to change the heart. And how do we do that? Well, Jesus can. He can change the heart. And then things become different. You notice he didn't say it becomes easy. It becomes different. Because life here on earth is still going to be full of challenges. But we know that with a changed heart, our approach to it is going to be different. And we know ultimately that eternity in heaven is where we're going to be spending our time, and life here on earth is just temporary. Change. You want change? You want to change your heart so you have more gratitude and thankfulness? Change your heart so that you leave a better legacy behind and you have a better impact on people here on earth while we're here? Change so that you can help those that are struggling with something, even though you might disagree with their decisions? It starts with the heart, because what's on the heart is what the mind thinks about. What the mind thinks about then pushes us into action. So it all starts with the heart. So we need to change our heart. This is Two Steps Ahead podcast, encouraging you to take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. Check out our website, radiowarp.com. That's radio, W-A-R-P, radiowarp.com. You can click on the Two Steps Ahead podcast show logo. Past shows pop up. There's also a banner there that you can click on that will take you to our Podbean page, which has all of our audio. So we have video and audio. Our video can also be on Rumble and YouTube, so we're pretty easy to find. You can also listen to the audio portion anywhere you listen to podcasts, or you can do an internet search, TWO, Two Steps Ahead Podcast, and our show pops up. Hey Siri, hey Google, hey Alexa, play TWO, Two Steps Ahead Podcast, and our latest episode will play. So we're pretty easy to find. Our email, twostepsaheadpodcast@gmail.com. Again, TWO, twostepsaheadpodcast@gmail.com. And we're on social media all over the place at TWO, Two Steps Ahead Podcast. So you can DM and check us out on social media as well. When it comes down to it, though, it comes down to what are we going to do? And if you are looking for change, if you're looking for something different, if you want to practice more gratitude, if you want to practice more compassion, if you want to practice more love, if you want to practice more thankfulness, whatever it is, if you want to work on a better legacy in life, helping those around us. Because you see, if we all did a little bit to help, just a little bit to help one another, just give a little bit of what we can do, then we can make this world a better place. But again, that all depends on what's the passion of the heart. Two Steps Ahead podcast, encouraging you to take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. I'm Son Edom. Hey, thanks for listening. Do tell a friend. And until next time, God bless.